One.
What's up, everybody? It is Casey with Two Worlds Podcast, and with me, as always, is the Charlie to my angels. It's Jake. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you today?
I'm not too bad, man. Just, you know, living the dream.
Okay, well, we all know what that means.
Yeah, dude, I'm like running on very low sleep, so I'm probably gonna say some nonsense today. So that's gonna be fun.
I'll tell you. So Saturday was free comic book day, which we can get into in a minute. But that night was like the worst sleep I'd had in a long time. I think my watch recorded like 4 hours and 10 minutes, which is not great for me. And so last night I slept for like 9 hours straight, just like a
Nice,
rock. And I woke up feeling like $1 million today.
nice, dude. That's awesome. So, how was Free Comic Book Day? It was a record day.
It was a record day for the store, which is just incredible. It like, it felt busy. It always feels busy. It didn't feel like the crowd was there like it was in previous years, but like some people that were coming in earlier in the week didn't even know that it was happening because they all thought, oh, it's just in May every year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but, I did a little extra like paid promotions and stuff like that to try and like anybody that was gonna know knew sort of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, but it was still a really, really good turnout. Sold some nice like high-end books, and it was a great day. The artists all said that it was like their best free comic book day too, which made me feel good because I want them to also do really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, all around, everybody had a great day.
Nice, man. Did anybody come up to you and go, "Do you know what this is?" after they bought it for a quarter? Just like this is
No,
the first appearance of Captain Carter, you fool.
dude, after that last episode, I went to the shop to see if I had any copies, and sadly I didn't. It's the only issue from that whole Exiles run that I
Dude,
didn't have at the shop.
well, I was bored and I was looking on like seeing how much that's worth. It's not much right now. I think it's like $14. But I think issue 2 is the first appearance of the that new Valkyrie that they had
Oh,
that was
okay.
based off of the movie Valkyrie. So that one's selling for about $14 too. So if you want to make that sweet $14 money.
I'll have to go back and look then. I
Yeah.
think I had a couple. I remember being so excited when they announced Valkyrie was on the team, and then they're like, oh, it's the other Valkyrie. I'm like, dang it.
She was a lot of fun in that. I don't think it's the same Valkyrie that's in the Valkyrie's book because she's from a different reality. She might be because I think they ended up in the main universe at the end,
Yeah.
but she was super cool. Like basically like very, very Hercules like before, Al Ewing got his grubby hands on. Or actually it was actually
I was gonna
before Dan
say,
Abnett.
isn't it? I was gonna say Dan
Yeah.
Abnett.
Yeah, he kind of
Uh,
started the downward spiral.
yeah. I really just want Defenders to come back, but like the Defenders team with Valkyrie on it, and not written by Al Ewing. Or maybe. I mean, I don't have
It
anything
might be
against him
fine.
really.
It 100% could be fine. My main problem with him doing team books though is like he spreads himself thin with the way he writes, in my opinion. That's my main problem with his, like why I had to stop reading his Guardians. It's like he's like I'm gonna have 50 characters on my team. I'm gonna focus maybe on 2 of them. It's like if I have enough characters, people are gonna want to read it, whether or not I
Yeah.
even deal with them. Who cares?
Well, maybe one of these days they'll bring back that OG team because Valkyrie needs some love.
Yeah.
I don't even know what were we talking about. Oh, free comic book day. I was like,
Yeah.
how did we even get here? Uh, but no, otherwise, super cool day. I got some really cool artwork that I showed Casey. I could probably put it on the Instagram if you guys want to check it out. But John Boren, this was his first event with us, but we've seen him at like local conventions and stuff like that. But he drew me Moss from the IT crowd, and it's just amazing. And then I'd gotten a static done by Joe Wills, and I'd actually commissioned that from him a while back. This was just the first time I'd seen him, so I finally got it, and it looks real cool. And I love Joe's style, so everything was awesome. Great day.
Yeah, stuff looked really cool, man.
But now we can get into some news. There is a good bit of news this week, and I will take the reins first.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's pretty crazy. He's like Jake was like being like sneaky, like, oh man, I gotta prepare for pre-comic book day. And I'm like, well, I'll just I'll take my time getting the news, and I'd see something, and I'd go with my notes, and he'd already have it. I'm like, And it happened about 10 times. So he's kind of won this battle.
Yeah, I was just on at the right times, I
Yeah.
guess. Okay. So yeah, man, I should be putting these in order of importance, and I never do. So first, Chloe Bennett is leaving the CW Powerpuff Girls show.
See, this is
Uh,
like that's Casey news. I've been reporting on this show since
I know I stole the scoop from you, buddy. I'm sorry. Um, I really expected you to have it in the notes
I know.
already. So when it wasn't, I was like, oh, maybe he didn't see it, so I put it in there. But anyway, she claims it's just a scheduling conflict since the CW wanted the pilot totally reworked. I wonder if she just knew it was a train wreck and decided to jump ship. Who knows? But
There
yeah.
is some speculation that she's gonna appear in Secret Avengers, or not the Secret Invasion, not Secret Avengers,
Oh,
which that could be really cool. And
good.
but yeah, no, I mean, there's no way that she couldn't know that was gonna be a train wreck. It sounds like
Oh
just
yeah,
the worst thing.
I agree. I would like uh her to show up in Secret Invasion because Quake was pretty neat. I never finished watching that show, but I watched like 4 seasons of it, and she was
Yeah.
always pretty cool.
She's very, very likable. It's just that show, for me, it just dragged on a bit too much. But
It
I
was
didn't
a slow
watch.
start. Like season one
Yeah,
was super slow, and then like 2, 3, and 4 I thought were pretty neat. But towards the end of 4, I was like, yeah, they should probably wrap this up.
yeah, and I think they went what 4 more seasons after that.
It was a couple. I know they did Ghost Rider and like a couple other things, but
Yeah,
and then another couple small things. Scotty Young is taking I Hate Fairyland from Image over to Substack. So I guess, he is able to do that. He owns it. So that's happening. And then I also saw that Substack Comics will get published in hard copy, but the publisher is unknown right now. So we'll see what happens there.
that's really exciting because that was one thing I was really worried about. I wonder if they're gonna come out in singles or if it's gonna be trades only, that type of stuff. You know how that's gonna work. I'm
Yeah.
also really curious with Scotty and I Hate Fairyland because that kind of just ended. It
Yeah, I
just
thought it
ended.
was done.
Yeah, I don't know how he's gonna do that because he actually had a nice ending for it. So like, I hope it's not like a Hollywood type of sequel thing where it's just like, I want that I Hate Fairyland money, so I'm gonna make something up, which I mean I
Right.
guess it's all made up, so
That's
whatever.
true. And then on the same Substack line, we've got Zadarsky joining Substack with Public Domain. That's the title of his book. Give me one sec. There's something in my
Yeah,
throat.
and so this actually kind of go like what I'm about to say kind of goes into something that he was saying about some of your other news that you reported on before me today.
Okay.
Uh, he was asked, "Oh, are you going to be, you going to be writing anything for DC, like anything for DC, like any Batman or anything like that? And will you keep writing Daredevil?" And he's like, "I'm not writing Batman. Last Ride's still coming out, and I'm still on Red Batman." And he puts in parentheses Daredevil.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that kind of talks about something that you've also reported on, which I'm like, I hope that's the case.
Yeah. Um, okay, so we can diverge onto that real quick and then get into the rest of it. So Marvel's canceling Daredevil at issue number 36, which I think is in November. Um, what I saw, and I apologize if this is stuff that you didn't want to hear, Casey, but I read that I guess things are building up to a marriage. Are you familiar
Yeah.
with this? Okay, so a
I mean, there's
marriage.
there's like two different people that could be married, or
Okay.
of course, two different people, two different groups of people that could be married.
Okay, would you like me to say it or would you rather me not?
Go ahead, man.
Okay. Apparently, it's a marriage between Kingpin and Typhoid Mary. And that's going to be the climax of the whole series. Um, I'm sure Matt will probably get out of prison and suit up, and then he and Elektra will probably team up to bring those two down, and then it wraps up, right? I mean, that just seems like the obvious ending from someone who knows nothing about the series. But anyway, I'm sure you and several people listening to this are also very upset that they're canceling it.
See, I'm not, because I 100% expect it to be like, oh, we're gonna now do a Daredevils mini with Elektra and Matt, you know, doing some shenanigans, and then that it's like 6 issues probably. That's what I'm gonna guess, and then it's gonna go right back into a brand new, all new, same ship, Daredevil #1, and then go from there.
I hope so, because Chip seems to like writing Daredevil, so I hope that he gets to. And I also hope that Chichetto gets to like finish up the series, at
That's one
least the
thing
last issue.
I will talk about. He is back on in this issue, so you already know it's gonna be a 10. So,
Nice. Okay, so then back to the rest of my Substack topics. Why is somebody from, oh, that's got to be spam calling me. My car's extended warranty has run out.
oh, dude, pick that up.
I know, right? Um, anyway, this one was interesting. So James Tynan is going to use the Substack platform to tell the, and I quote, secret history of DC's 5G. And I gotta be honest, man, I think that's a bad business call on his part, because he made it sound like there was some stuff that's not meant to be public knowledge that he's going to make public knowledge. And if this Substack platform tanks, he might burn some bridges at DC that he doesn't realize he's going to burn. That's just my hot take on it.
He might burn a few bridges at DC, but you know who would love to have him? Marvel. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. Then plus he's got his creator own stuff that he's probably more than happy
I
working
know,
with.
but I mean,
So
where did he get his start for the last like decade? You know what
I
I
know,
mean? It's like,
I know, man. But I don't know. I have a feeling from stuff that I've heard prior, it's like editorial at DC is not the best, and it also sounds like 5G wasn't that their one head dude that
Dan
got
Didio. Mhm.
wasn't that like mostly his brainchild, so it's probably not that big of a deal if he talks about it. And
I
it's
mean,
like,
he could also just make it sound juicier than it is to get people to subscribe. That
yeah,
could
that's
be.
100%. And it's probably like he I mean, Tynan's not an idiot. I have a feeling he, if anything, he probably was like, hey, uh James Lee, is it okay? And he's like, call me Jim. It's like, is it okay if I talk about this on here? And I was like, yeah, I don't care, whatever.
Well, I guess we'll find out, or
Yeah,
whoever's subscribed to him will find out.
yeah.
And then just a little piece off of that. Jorge Jimenez says that he will stay on as the Batman artist after Fear State and Tynan's departure.
That's good. I mean, I'm curious who the new writer is going to be. I mean, the way they're working him, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Williamson. It's like, dang, this guy, he's doing like half of the DC's books at this point.
So let's talk about that. That is something I wanted to bring up. Give me like two or three that you think it could be. And I that was one of mine. So let's hear
Yeah.
another one or two.
Uh, I mean, Tamaki, she's already writing detective, and it seems like that's usually how it goes. It's like they write detective, that's pretty good, and then it moves over to Batman.
Hopefully not at the same time. We
No, I
always
hate
talk
that.
about that.
I think that only happens with like that really only happens with Superman for some unknown reason.
I don't know how likely it is, but I also think Tom Taylor is not out of the question for that. Even though he is
Yeah,
getting that
but
new series, he's like
and
once Tynan leaves, Taylor's kind of one of the bigger writers at DC.
yeah, it's like, I mean, honestly, if Taylor and Williamson left for Substack, DC would be like, we have like two other writers. Like it's Tamaki and Tom King after that. It's like, who's left?
Well, here's another one that I don't think is likely, and that's Bendis. I don't think
Yeah.
it's likely. He's doing Justice League, but a reason why I don't really think it's Bendis is I think he's kind of on the outs at DC. He doesn't have Superman or Action. He doesn't have Legion. He isn't doing Naomi. He's just doing Justice League. And this is another bit of my news for the week. But he withdrew all of his creator-owned stuff from DC and is going to Dark Horse with it.
Okay. But he's doing a Checkmate though, right?
Yeah, I guess, but not even I remembered that, and I order the book every month. So
Yeah.
like,
That's one of those ones. Like there's a meme group I follow that's just comic book based. It's called Charlton Posting, and the same people that do the Moon Knight core, but they're like, it's like a new Checkmate book come out. They're like, yeah. They're like, it's gonna have both questions in it. Like, yeah. It's like written by Bendis. Like,
exactly. But I think that you had a good point with Tamaki. That was also one I was kind of thinking could be it.
and then it could be Rosenberg too. I can see him.
Well, that's the thing with all these people going to Substack. Some of these other lesser known writers are gonna, step up. No matter how we feel about them, Steve Orlando and Tim Seeley, like those are two that could be getting more work.
And I mean, I'm fine with both of them. I know you're not the biggest fan, but they're both to me like they're solid. And I think getting more work is gonna make them hopefully better. Like
Yeah.
it's, you know what I mean? It's like they have like a route they can go because like right now they're like C plus. They can either become D's or B's, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see. I don't know. I also wouldn't mind if just no names started popping up, because then it's like, oh, I have no, preconceived thoughts about this. So let's just see what happens.
Yeah, the only thing is they can't do that with Batman. They have to have a name on Batman, it seems like, because it's,
Yeah.
one of their top books.
Mhm.
Detective, they can like I said, move Tamaki over and then get a no name on Detective and have that work that way.
Because do you know, did Scott Snyder work on any big two before Detective?
I want to say that he did because he did American Vampire for Vertigo, so that's how he kind of got his in there.
Yeah.
And then prior to that, I want to say, I don't know if this was his first book that he did, but I know he did it was Iron Man Noir, and so I think that was prior to everything else. And it's like this pulpy Iron Man story where he's like lost in the jungle and he makes his own armor and stuff. It's pretty fun. But yeah, I think that was like might have been pre Detective Comics.
Okay. Well, either way, we DC used to do the new talent showcase, and then like half of those people we never hear from again. So it's like, could we now?
Yeah, that'd be exciting. Okay, so I will mention the Tom Taylor's new book because you mentioned he's getting, mentioned him. So his new book is called Dark Knights of Steel. I'm not gonna lie. I am not interested at all. It has nothing to do with Tom Taylor, but it's like a knight and sorcery book with the Batman characters. Yeah, this is like if there's a book written for Jake, this is his book. It's just like I'm just like, boy, you are hyping this up as like, oh, this is a character I've been waiting to write, and then it's like these characters that I made up.
Here's the
It's like,
thing, though. So Casey can kind of attest to this, but I was talking with Brian Atkins over the weekend about this. Like, this is a book that I have wanted to write for DC for
mhm.
years. Like, Brian had never heard of it. I showed him the cover. He was like, "Oh yeah, you used to talk to me about a book like this, in your free time." I'm like, "I know, and no one's gonna believe me. They'll just be
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, sure, Jake, you wanted to write this book." But guys, really, I did.
I just love how like Tom was building it up as like this is characters I've wanted to write for forever. And it's like, oh, you mean the same characters you've been writing, but as medieval versions of them? Exactly.
Yeah,
Like
maybe
everyone was like
maybe it
thinking it
is.
was gonna be Detective Conan, and it wasn't.
Right, I know. But for real, he's getting Yasmin Putri to write or to do the interiors, and it's the same artist that did that cover that was shown. And I've
It's
known them to mostly do cover work, but man, are they talented. So
it's
it's gonna
gonna
look
look
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sure it's gonna be cool. I'm not gonna be like, oh, this is gonna be bad. It's just like, this is not for me. Like as soon as I saw this, I'm like, well, Jake's gonna be happy.
Yeah. So if you guys like DC characters and you're not opposed to them being mixed with sword and sorcery for 12 issues, give Dark Knights of Steel a look. And also, I'm pretty sure we jokingly said that title last week too,
I
before we
think
knew that's
so
what it
too. Yeah.
was. Again, DC, we're right here. You need some
Yeah.
writers. All right. Casey actually gave me this news, but then didn't put it in these notes. But Mr. Idris Elba is going to be the voice of Knuckles in Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just
Casey, what do
figured.
you think about that?
I mean, I don't really have much in the way of thoughts about it. You know, like this is, I was just like, this is something that's going to make Jake happiest of all because he loves himself some Idris Elba. And I'm going to say Knuckles is probably what, 1A as far as your favorite, or 1B, your favorite in the Sonic universe, probably.
Yeah, I mean probably tied with Sonic. I
Yeah.
I split my time pretty evenly between the two
Yeah.
on Sonic 3. Um, but no, I think it's great. My favorite actor with one of my favorite characters. Somebody I mean, we know how older people are, right? Sometimes when it comes to this stuff, and somebody on Saturday was like, "So, like, what do you think about Elba voicing Knuckles?" I'm like, "Dude, he's a red cartoon echidna. I don't care who voices him. Like, what he because he didn't sound black in the video games. Like, dude, come on." And that's what
What
he
I
was getting at.
what I think is, oh, no, maybe it's just British. He's like, I don't want a British guy
That
sounding
could
like.
be. Maybe he just
But
doesn't like British people.
what I think would be funny, and like I know it's not gonna have, not gonna be what it is, but I want like them to be like, no, we're gonna have like, three, CG Sonic and Tails, but Idris Elba, we're paying you a lot of money. You're gonna get the full makeup, and you're gonna have to run around with them
And
and like glide
glide.
and stuff. Yeah,
Yes.
he's like, fine, I've seen the paycheck, I'll do it.
I mean, he's a good action star. He can do the glides.
Yeah, he's a pro.
But no, I'm really excited. I love the first one, and adding him and Knuckles and Tails to the sequel. Oh, Jake's
I
gonna be a happy boy.
I just hope there isn't like an hour long scene of him like looking, like digging for the Chaos Emeralds, but he keeps going in like the wrong direction, and his like little orb is like beeping
Dude,
wrongly.
some of those levels were hard, but I loved those. They had some of the best music.
I hated those levels so much.
But you liked him more than playing the cat levels for your sister, right?
At the time, I absolutely loved the cat levels. So no.
Oh, that's great. Dude,
All right.
that game was truly wild. I know we're like spinning out of control
Yeah.
here, but it's like you can run real fast, you can treasure hunt, or you can get in a mech suit as Tails or Robotnik's mech, whatever, and just total like 90s action movie, blow everything up. And like those were your options. Or you can fish as a giant cat.
Yeah. Whose best friend is
Is
a
a
frog.
frog.
Who's like, seems like he might be afraid of him
Yeah.
because he keeps trying to run away.
Yeah.
It's like that's a one-sided friendship for sure.
Yeah. What a game. What a
Yeah.
game.
So when I saw this news, I was very interested in your opinion on it. Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen are teaming up again for a Robin and Batman story exploring Dick Grayson's year one origin. And so I'm curious because they already have a Robin year one. So excited, or you kind of interested in seeing this again, or you know?
I am interested in Dustin Gwen's artwork, but this whatever Jeff Lemire is going to tell, in my opinion, is just not going to be better than what Chuck Dixon already gave us.
Yeah,
Because
maybe it'll
that,
be like, I mean, how, like, maybe it's just gonna be this, like a slightly different telling, or maybe not even better, but I mean, not even different, but I mean, like, instead of fighting, because it doesn't even fight Killer Moth, or is that in the Batgirl one?
That's the Batgirl one.
Okay, maybe he fights a different villain and it's just bombastic and fun, in a different way.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the Dixon's one is just Dick finds out about Tony Zuko and like wants to go kill him, and Batman's like, no, there's a better way. And there's like inner turmoil and stuff like that and detective work. It was perfect. I'm not
Yeah.
saying this is going to be bad. I just don't know that it needs to be made. And it's only going to be 3 issues. So it's like, what is this really going to give us that we don't already have?
And another thing too, why can't this just be a backup?
Mhm.
I mean, it'd be a great backup issue in Detective Comics
Yeah.
because I haven't really been a fan of most of those.
Yeah, I agree. So speaking of Robins, the Robins book is coming out, and that they've given us a little more info on that. That's going to be written by Tim Seeley with art by Baldemar Rivas. Um, but we finally got some art from that. So if you guys want to, just Google Robins, Tim Seeley, Baldemar Rivas, but it looks pretty neat. Definitely a book I'm going to read because I like all the Robins. Casey, are you going to check it out, or is this a pass for you?
I'm gonna check it out. It sounded interesting enough. I voted for it most of the times, so
Yep.
I hope they do that again. Honestly, I
Mhm.
thought it was a really cool way of doing things.
I agree.
So Scarlett Johansson was reportedly offered a DC movie role. Where I read, it didn't actually give us what role she was offered, but DC's apparently like, you're spitting in the face of the mouse. Why don't you come over here? So yeah, that's pretty cool. Do you have a preference on who you think she should play?
Mm, not really. I mean, it's just like, does she really want to do this again? You know?
I don't think I'm it didn't seem like it seemed like her, Chris Hemsworth, and I'm trying to think of the other, like, oh, and the Hawkeye guy. Like all of them seem to have actually,
Jeremy Renner.
yes, old Renner. They all seem to actually enjoy doing this. Where like Evans and then like Robert Downey Jr. seemed to enjoy it for a while, but he got tired of it. But Chris Evans just seemed like he's like, oh, I guess I'll keep cashing these checks. And but
Yeah,
like they actually seem that they like it, so I wouldn't be surprised if she wouldn't want to do it again.
right. Yeah, I don't know. I like nothing really comes to mind. Like when she started doing Black Widow, absolutely Barbara Gordon, right? I mean, that would have
Yeah.
been great, but right now I can't really think of anybody. What about you?
I mean, I had a thought today, if they were able to keep the Snyderverse stuff going, she would be a pretty good Catwoman alongside Ben Affleck's Batman, I think. But, outside
Yeah,
of like, since they already have a Catwoman, they can't, in the other universe, it'd be weird to do that. And I mean, I'm sure there's someone that we're just not thinking of that she'd be really good as, but nothing was coming to my mind when I was thinking about today.
maybe a Mara replacement.
There
That's
you
not
go.
going to happen.
That would be great. Speaking of, I think that's gonna be your next piece of news.
Is
Wasn't
it?
that in yours? Oh no, that was last week. Never mind.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, what am I missing here? Uh, but speaking of movies, Venom, Let There Be Carnage has been delayed by like a week. It's coming
Yeah,
out October 15th. I don't remember the reason why they delayed it. But anyway, probably not to clash with some other movie, but
I've
it's delayed for the 4th time.
I've been hearing there's some rumors that they're gonna delay. They're gonna delay it even more, maybe because of the COVID variant and all that type of stuff. And that's also why Marvel hasn't announced their old like done anything for the Spider-Man movie yet, because they're like, we don't want another Black Widow on our hands.
Right. Well, I knew this was coming before we got the news because they started taking the date out of the trailer at the end and just putting coming soon. So it's like, oh, they're gonna delay this again. And then like
Yeah.
the next day they did. So whatever. I'm not really that like pumped for it anyways. I don't even know when I'll see it, but whatever.
Yeah. And then my last bit of news, this is kind of, I think it's kind of funny. Disney is reportedly going to release Shang-Chi exclusively to theaters for 45 days and then be made available on Disney Plus. And boy, people are upset about this. They're like, I want to spend the 30 extra dollars to see this at my house instead of on the theater screen because I don't want to get the COVID. And I think it's kind of hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. It's like why make me wait, Disney? How dare you? So
I mean, I kind of get the argument though. How long did that same day stuff last for one movie? It was like Mulan, and no one cared about seeing Mulan. So like
yeah.
they kind of roped us all in thinking this was going to be a regular thing, and then they're like, "Nah, just kidding." Well, I
Well,
guess you can, but now you got to pay us extra.
yeah. I mean, it's like to me, it lost all of its like all of its coolness as soon as they're like, yeah, you're gonna pay $30 to see this thing. Then it's like, well, this is like, oh, so I have to pay what is it, $12 a month, $9 a month? I don't know, I don't have it. And then an extra 30 on top of that to watch this movie I want to see in theaters, or put my mask on, pick a seat out that's nowhere near other people, and then go to the theater and sit there and watch the movie for $7 at a matinee. You know,
I don't know. I'm kind of the mentality of like I share it with my family. So I would rather split that 30 with my whole family because we're all gonna watch it and stay at home than go to the theater for it. Because when I went to the theater for the last one, the theater had already done away with like spacing between parties and the seats, which I didn't know about till I got there. So that was a bit uncomfortable. And then also nobody, as you and I talked about, remembered how to act at the theater. And it was just not a great experience. So it's like, yeah, I'd rather pay extra and stay at home personally.
yeah. See, we're like the that's one thing that's different. It's like even when I go to Evansville, the movie theater there, I haven't been to one where it's been packed. So like me and Bree don't even have to worry about people, that many people in the theaters. I think like the most we've had was when we saw Black Widow, and there was maybe one other person in our row. So it wasn't that crazy.
Well, I thought the same too. Brielle and I went to see Black Widow at like 8:30 in the morning, and it
Dang.
was our row was totally full. So,
That's crazy.
but anyway. Okay, so Brian Hitch has a new Superman comic coming. Apparently, he shared some artwork and said that it was a new project. The interesting bit of news is that somebody asked him if this project was, because he didn't say who the writer was. Somebody said, well, is it Mark Waid? And he said, I can't say. So it's like, oh, is
That'd
it
be pretty
Mark Waid?
exciting.
Could we be getting a Mark Waid, Brian Hitch Superman book? Once upon a time, several years ago, Mark Waid had sworn off working at DC and said he wasn't going to work there ever again. But all the people that were in charge when he said that aren't there anymore. So that was Paul Levitz, Dan Didio, and like Bob Harris or something like that.
Yeah, I think the big one there was Dan Didio, just from stuff I've read online. Like he did not care much for Dan.
Yeah. So now that all of those people are gone, it's like, what? Maybe he will come back to DC.
And he already has written stories for DC so far, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. For some reason, I'm not like the biggest Brian Hitch fan. Like his work on Hawkman was fine, but I don't know. Like sometimes I just feel like he rushes some of the work, and it shows
Oh,
really
okay.
like in the face, especially. But you know, if he gets a strong writer like Mark Waid, I'm not gonna care that much, and then I'll read it. So
really quick, speaking of Hawkman, I need to send this to you via the Twitter, but Liam Sharp tweeted out some stuff from when he was with working on Justice League with Venditti, and he had some Hawkman that he drew that looked incredible. Like, I'll try to find it really quick because I saw on the Twitter the other day. I was like, oh, I need to send this to Jake, and I forgot all about it.
Yeah, please do. That sounds awesome. Um, okay, and then my last bit of news. Joshua Williamson announces Justice League Incarnate. This is going to be a 5-issue oversized miniseries. I guess that means that the books are oversized and will cost us $6 a piece.
$9.
And that will be taking place after the events of Infinite Frontier number 6. And the Justice League Incarnate races across multiple worlds to stop Darkseid from gaining control of something. That, I mean, even just that one sentence, pairing it with Joshua Williamson and after Infinite Frontier, which I've been enjoying, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna pick that up.
Yeah, same. I'm really excited about this. This is this is one of the many things you scooped me on, and yeah, no, I'm overly pumped for this.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. But I think that is all for the news. So
And really quick for the listeners. Can you see
yeah,
that okay?
a little bit.
All right, sorry. I'll
I
try to
No, it's all good.
I'll turn off. There you go. Is that better? That didn't
Yeah.
help at all.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm gonna
All right.
go straight to his Twitter and like
I'll
that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you too, so you can, put my head on there and put it as your new background.
Fantastic. All right. Well, guys, we're going to take our ad break and then we'll be back and talk about some comics. We'll be right back. You have a story for us this week, Casey?
I mean, I can just complain about when I had to work on my Jeep like a while back because I never got to tell you about that,
Sure.
unless you have anything more important.
I don't think so.
All right. So this would have been the July 4th weekend. My brakes are making like a terrible noise. So I was like, I've been needing to change them for a while. So I was like, yeah, I ordered them when I was still at the girlfriend's place. And then I drove home 3 hours. And then the next day, like my brakes weren't in yet. So I was like, well, let's go to the gym. And I go to the gym on my drive home. They make a terrible sound and then they don't work. So I ran a stop sign because they just slid right through. So I'm like, well, shoot, I can't be driving this until I get my new brakes in. So they finally come in and I get them on. I look and the brake was on my left side was so bad. There was nothing on one side of it. And it actually started grinding my caliper. So I had to run to O'Reilly's and get a new caliper. And by the way, the brakes, like I'm going to try to come up with a tally in my head because I got new brakes or new pads and what else? And I think that was it. I think that was about like $40. And so then I went and had to I ended up spending $60 for a new caliper for the front. And I swapped those out and I had to get some coolant and like a bunch of other piddly things. And I was like, well, I'm going to rotate my tires while I'm doing this because I haven't rotated them in forever. I also got stuff to change my oil. So I changed my oil, rotated my tires. As I was rotating, a ton of oil was on my back wheel. I'm like, what the heck? Turns out I blew a seal in my rear axle. So that was going to be like, I had to buy like the seals were, I think, $70. And so I'm like, shoot. So I had to take that all. And like, that was such a hassle. Like, I've never done this before. I watched a video online and the lady that was doing it, she had so much better luck than me in hers. Like she could, she got it all apart and it was like, the video was fantastic. She did a great job, but there was one part where you have to actually take the axle out from where it's at, and hers came right out. Like she just like, oh, you just stick your pry bar in here and you pop it out, and mine would not pop out. And then like I watched this other video where this like Australian dude's like, yeah, this is what you do, and you don't have any tools. You just put your rotor back on and you pop it. And so I was like, okay. And I did that and that still wouldn't work. And so then finally I was like, Dad, I need some help, because he was on the farm with me that day too. So he's like, okay, so he's under there. He's got the thing. I'm pulling and he's doing this. He's like, okay, put it in neutral and we'll turn it some and see if we can get it to. And like we did that, and then it just came right out after we got it turned the right way, because it just wasn't turned the right way apparently. But then we got the seal on, and then like these seals are so tight I could put them on backwards. Luckily, we bought two. Like Dad was like, I'll buy an extra one. We'll do the other side too. And I was telling him about this. I'm like, okay. And so the first one we got put on backwards. So then we had to cut it off and had to put the other, like luckily we had the other one on and we got that on and then put it all
was
back together.
destiny.
Yeah, right. It was like the universe knew I was gonna mess this up, and got that put back on. And like I think by the end of it, it was around $400 I had to drop to, I had to get differential oil too, because the rear differential oil after that, and I've never changed the front, so I had all of that and my brake pads, new rotors, new caliper, a new caliper for the front. Yeah, it was not a fun time.
I mean, I truly applaud you for doing it all yourself. I would have been like, what? And then just taking it to the mechanic, and it would have cost me triple.
Yeah, but you have a car, and like working on a car is so much harder than like a Jeep or a truck. Like, I mean, maybe the newer Jeeps, like I would say probably like the 14s and newer and all that stuff, probably more of a hassle than my Jeep. But yeah, it's just like, I remember when I had my Charger, I would like look in it and it's just plastic everywhere. I'm like, I don't know where to start on this. So yeah, yours would be a good bit more of a hassle than mine.
Now, the real question I have for you is, on the way to O'Reilly's, were you singing the song?
Yes, always. I was actually on the phone with Bree and I was like, yeah, I gotta go to oh Riley's Auto Parts. And I pause and I go, ow, and she's like, I'm leaving. I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm glad you did the ow part. It's
Yeah, always.
essential.
Like, yeah.
All right. Welcome back, folks. Thanks for listening to the ad. Or over on the YouTube, we have an exclusive story of Casey telling us about the time he had to work on his Jeep and all the chaos that ensued. But anyway, we will continue on and talk about the comics we read this week. And Casey, which ones did you get through, my friend?
So I read Runaways number 38, or actually in total 100. I think that's what the 100 means there. Fantastic Four. It's the 80s, like the year in the life or whatever, number 3. Daredevil, number 33. Batman, Urban Legends, number 6. Detective Comics 1041. Infinite Frontier, 4 of 6. The Joker, number 6. And Justice League number 4, The Last Ride.
And for me, I've got Masters of the Universe Revelation number 2, Wonder Woman number 777, Hardware season 1 number 1, Future State Gotham number 4, Detective Comics 1041, Infinite Frontier number 4, The Joker number 6, and Justice League Last Ride number 4.
I need to tag Denise Cowan that in this and say that you did Hardware. You talk about Hardware, because he was like, he tweeted out the other day, he's like, I need some people to start reviewing, need to get some reviews in for Hardware. So I need to be like, oh, we reviewed it.
I'm glad that you are, because I loved it and I'm going to gush about it. So
okay, good. Yeah, I'll have to remember to do that.
Yeah.
All right, you want me to go first? Because I think I have one more than you.
Okay.
Okay, so first up is going to be Runaways number 38/100, and this is by Rainbow Rowell and Andres Ginolet on the art. And yeah, I enjoyed this issue. There's like minor gripes, because, and like the main reason why these gripes exist is because I know Rainbow is a huge Runaways fan, and so it's like, these are like continuity gripes that I disagree with, and like I would have a spirited discussion, like respectful spirited discussion with her about it, as two Runaway fans to each other. So like, future Gert is here, and she's like, hey, I need to bring Chase to the future because, he actually turns out he becomes evil. It's no longer Ultron's kid. I'm blanking on his name now for some reason, who becomes evil. And it's like, first off, I don't like that. Like, Chase, in all honesty, should die. That's just how it should go. But whatever. And then at the end, we get like, because Carolina's gonna be going back into outer space and get her powers all under control and all that stuff. And her ex-fiance, who was a Skrull named Zavin, is there, and Zavin's looking very much female-y. I don't know if that's the correct term. Maybe it's just a female. When in reality, that whole series that she was in, she was very much more interested in being a dude. And because Carolina's like, I'm gay, I don't want to be, married to a dude. And she's like, we can change her sex, don't worry. And then he transforms into she, and then but throughout, like, any time that she would choose, it would always be as a dude instead. And then like this, it's like, oh, she's looking like a she now, so it's like, I don't agree with that, but it's interesting. It's a good 100-pager. There are some funny things, like Doombot's one of my favorite characters, like hands down. And then Molly is still probably, like, I'm gonna say, even though she's the youngest, she's the one that's most likely to be a superhero out of this group, because she's only like 12, and yet she's still probably smarter and more well put together than all of them combined. But I like it. It's pretty solid, and outside of like certain, like, very minor things, yeah, it's good. I'm gonna give it a 8 out of 10.
Nice, dude. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay. Did you want to do another? Or did you want me to go?
You can go, because I think, like I
Okay.
said, I think I have just the one more than you, so it should equal out pretty easy.
All right. Then I will talk about Masters of the Universe Revelation number 2. So, story is by Kevin Smith and Rob David. The script is by Tim Sheridan, and the art is done by Mindy Lee. And this issue was like crazy awesome, guys. I really, really loved it. Skeletor gives his origin to the evil sorceress that's like his lover. I'm really bad with He-Man names, so I apologize, but whatever her name is. And it shows him as like a slave to these big alien creatures on this planet. And they end up like taking his wife and daughter and killing them. And right after that happens, this alien ship comes down to the planet, and the walkway comes down, and Hordak comes down with like all of his minions. And thanks to my girlfriend, I've become somewhat of a She-Ra fan over the years, and Hordak is awesome and has just a crazy cool character design. And I'll show you one of my favorite panels from it here. Like, look how good he looks.
Nice.
It's cool. And Hordak sees, how Skeletor is like angry at this planet and wants revenge for his family. So he's like, I'll give you just a taste of my magic if you help me take over this planet. And Skeletor's like, absolutely, I want to kick the crap out of everybody on this planet. So that happens. And Hordak also promises Skeletor that if he helps him conquer this world and some others, he'll give him the magic to resurrect his family. And so Skeletor does everything he wants for years, and basically Hordak just strings him along. Finally gets to a point where he lets him resurrect his daughter, and then immediately takes the daughter away. And he's like, you'll get her back after we raised her to be one of the Horde through and through. And then Skeletor kind of realizes that Hordak is never going to give him what he wants. And when they finally get to Eternia, which is what Hordak wants more than anything to rule over, Skeletor betrays him and takes all that magic power for himself and sends Hordak running. And it's this really like cool story, and then you find out at the end that it's all a lie that he's telling his people so that they'll like stay true to him. And like, I don't know if he's like looking for sympathy, but he just wants all of his people to stay loyal to him. And the sorceress is like, yeah, I don't fall for that. Like, you a family man, like I don't believe it. And he's like, yeah, what gave me away? But anyway, I guess every episode I have to bring out my Skeletor.
I wish we could get you to do that for like every book, like just like at least every week, like every time we talk about any book, it could be like, this week's Batman. You're like, I'm gonna talk like this now.
I am not nice. That's the best Skeletor quote. But anyway, um, the sorceress is like, I don't need like a sob story to be loyal to you. Like, I love you. I'm here to see your dreams, come true. I'll do whatever I can to help you get the power of He-Man, or the power of Grayskull, sorry. And then she leaves. And then, if you remember me talking about the first issue, there's that big monster that was traveling through time and like hurting all the He-Mans called the Orlax. And they captured it. So she goes into this room by herself and she's like, he's gone. They're all gone. It's only us. Now, Orlax, reveal your secrets to me. So we kind of got is she going to betray Skeletor sort of thing? And I guess we'll find out next issue. But anyway, I love this art. It's so good. I really can't think of a series where this art just wouldn't work for whoever it is. So I hope that this artist stays with the whole series. And also, Tim Sheridan's really good. I'm pretty sure he's writing Teen Titans Academy and Shazam.
Yeah.
And this too, I'm becoming a Tim Sheridan fan. This was great. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. I'm sure like some diehard He-Man fans are probably like, ugh, this sucks. But I thought it was super cool, man. So 10 out of 10 for me.
I am really curious how well this is gonna slide you right into the new TV show. Like, if you're
Yeah.
gonna be like, oh wow, they're using all of this stuff, or if you're gonna be like, oh, I wasted my time.
Right. I hope it does tie in because I've purposefully not watched the show because I want to read this first, but we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, for those that are listening, this is our Our Man comic review section. And I like right after I did my review, I was like, oh shoot, we have to do this. I set the timer. We're at 5:35 right now. I'm gonna say my time was about 3 minutes. So we'll just say we're at 8.
So I had already started whenever you started. So we're at 51:45.
Okay, cool. Okay, so Fantastic Four is next, and this is Lifestory, the 80s. And this was not a good issue. Like, this whole series has been pretty bad in my opinion so far, because it's like Fantastic Four, their core is family. And so in this, Sue is out, she's separated and she's sleeping with Namor, and she's filed for divorce, and Johnny's a 40-year-old that's having to deliver the, like he's having to serve Reed, and Franklin's like all upset, and he's he keeps like playing hooky and stuff, and Ben Grimm doesn't do anything, and Reed Richards is still trying to get stuff about Galactus, and it's just like, and then like there's one part that kind of made me laugh because like they're all the people are talking at like a UN meeting about what they need to do to fix things, and like Namor's like, well, it's just so much oxygen that comes from the algae in the ocean. Maybe if we just took care of the ocean. And Sue's like, well, maybe if we listen to women, we could find a better way to do things. It's like, you guys are just worried about your one thing. Like, you're not actually trying to fix anything. You're just saying like, oh, no, if we do things for me, that's going to make everything better. And I'm like, this is stupid. But then at the very end, spoiler alert, Johnny looks like he dies, which it's like, boy, you guys are doing great. But every issue seems like they're taking on one person's point of view. So maybe Ben Grimm's going to get some time to shine in the next one because he's the only one that hasn't yet. And yeah, like one part that was also pretty funny, name like Sue was talking to Namor, and like all this, like all these missiles were flying, about to blow up, and Namor's like, okay, I just found it. They're talking, and he's like, any minute now, the missiles will be on their way. We have to go. She's like, go where? And then he just points to the ocean, and she's like, but what about Franklin? And he's like, we can start again. And then he's like, Sue? Like, did you really think that was gonna work anymore? Like, we can live underwater without any of your family. Don't worry about it. We can make more.
I'll be honest, dude. This issue didn't sound great.
No, I would actually give it a not so fantastic 4 out of 10.
That was good. Were you
Yeah.
saving that, or did you just come up with that?
I thought about that as I was reading. I'm like, this is bad, and I'll just give it a 4 out of 10. I'll say this.
It's still Zdarsky, right?
No, this is, sorry, I should have said that earlier. It is actually written by Mark Russell and Sean Izakisi is on the art, and Mark Russell's the writer.
I was thinking of Spider-Man Lifestory, right? Zdarsky did that one.
Zdarsky did that one. That one's supposed to be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
This one, like, maybe it's just the team dynamic. That's my main problem with it. But it's like, I mean, Reed has felt like Reed this whole time. The rest of them have not felt like they're in character at all. So yeah, not too into it.
Okay. Speaking of books that I'm not too into anymore, let's get into Future State Gotham. And this is written by Dennis Culver and art by Nicola, my goodness, Sismezija. Oof, sorry about that. The art is still so good in this book, but the story I just really couldn't care too much about. This whole issue was just Harley versus Punchline. And it's like, dude, how many times are they going to try to give this to us? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't care. And then the final thing that they tease, Harley's yelling at Punchline about stuff like Harley kind of wins the fight and ties up Punchline to be arrested. And Harley's like, do yourself a favor and get over your ex, Punchline. And Punchline screams, I'm not talking about him, you idiot. I'm talking about the next Joker, but it's in the next Batman font. So it's like, okay, I guess we're getting a new future Joker the next issue. So maybe everyone pick it up if you want to spec on that book and hope that the character becomes something. But yeah, otherwise it's just like, dude, I don't care about Harley and Punchline fighting because Harley's not written as well as she is in Tynan's Batman run. The art, super good.
That is pretty awesome. And since the art's good, is the fight scene at least cool?
Yeah. I mean, it looks awesome. And like there's giant hyena men, which is also pretty neat too. So like it's fun. It's just the story's not doing anything for me. So I don't know. And the backup, I couldn't care to read it because I was kind of over the issue at this point.
I gotcha, man.
But anyway, I don't know. It's probably like a 5. Like I didn't hate reading it. It's just like probably not going to keep going with it. The art's really, really good. And the story was just so bland that I just feel like I have to give it a 5.
I got you, man. Okay, so next up for me is going to be, I'm going to say the hot topic issue of the week. And this is Batman Urban Legends number 6. So I'm going to start with the Red Hood and Batman Cheer Part 6 of 6 by Zdarsky, with Eddie Barrows and Eber Ferreira and Scott Eaton and Julio Ferreira, and with Claire Albert all doing the art. And this actually was a pretty good issue. Jason, he comes in, like he kind of breaks into the bat, like Oracle helps him into the Batcave, and he gets his own, like he steals a Batman suit because he needed something to battle, help him battle Mr. Freeze because, a leather jacket can only keep you so warm. So he had to get one of these suits to help him, with that. And he gets some cheer, but his angst just kind of battles the cheer, and he gives the antidote to Batman, and they save the day. Then it kind of goes to Jason talking to Blue, the little blue hood kid who's now like living with his mom, and they have a nice house and stuff. And Batman thinks so what he saw when he was all hot, hopped up on his cheer, and it's actually him like murdering the Joker and becoming friends with Jason basically. And I'm like, that's kind of funny, kind of neat too. And then it ends with like them kind of growing together. And that's one thing like that I did like about this is, for the most part, most of the growing that happens between Batman and Jason, it's kind of like, oh, we had Under the Red Hood, which was like ultimate angst, like, you're my dad, but you didn't protect me. I hate you, type of thing. And now it's just kind of like, okay, we're friends again. And this seems like a middle story between those type of things. And this is like repairing the relationship between the two. And it actually works when you think of it that way. And I liked it. And like Jason decides he's not going to use guns anymore after this. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, that's not going to last outside this issue.
No, not at all. But it's still cool, I think. And then the actual coolest story, it's called Blood for Blood. And this is by Matthew Rosenberg, and Christopher Sprouse does the art. And we get Wonder Woman just murdering people with swords. And, she's going after Max Lord. And then it turns out that's not Wonder Woman. It's Zealot from Wildcats. So, and then she fights Wonder Woman, and that was pretty dang sweet. And that's, kind of how it ends. And it's like, the end ? It's like, I'll be honest, Matt, like Rosenberg, don't make me keep picking up a dang old, like, what is it, $8 book just for the Wildcats? Like, I just want their own book. I don't want this. Okay, come on. But then next up, it's the Tim Drake and Some of Our Parts, part 3 of 3 by Megan Fitzmartin and Belen Ortega on the art. And this story wasn't well written, but this is like the hot button story. You actually read this also. So yeah, like this is where it turns out that Tim might be gay or he might be bisexual. It's pretty vague because like there's different things that he says throughout. Like basically like an old friend from one of his older issue of comics that I didn't read. Did you read any with this kid in it? Because I know you are up on your Tim Drake stuff.
Yeah, I have this kid's first appearance. It's Robin like 121. I looked up this week, but I mean, it's nothing so noteworthy that anyone's going to remember.
Yeah. And so basically him and this, like, he rescues this kid. And then it's like, this is one thing that annoys me about it is like Robin's trying to think like this Robin does not feel like Tim Drake at all because he's so unsure of himself. He's like, what would Batman do? Batman would do this. I can't do this. It's like, dude, like, I don't know what Bendis did to you when, with his writing. Like, that's what I'm wondering about is like, did Bendis kind of like make him take like 30 steps back? And then that's why, Fitzmartin is writing him this way. And maybe it's not like just her trying to write him however she wants. Maybe she's filling in for, trying to keep Bendis's art going. I don't know. But this was so bad, in my opinion, how he was being written, because that's not how he is. He is very sure of himself. He's very smart. But then you have this kid that's like, oh, I've been friends with Tim Drake for years. And I've had, he kind of made me realize that I was gay. Like, that's basically what he's saying. And then, like, Robin's like, he's like, hey, don't worry, Robin. I've been taking some classes. Or, he's like, I got some training. He, like, kicks the crap out of these guys who are, like, armed thugs. It's like, I don't care if you, unless, like, that's the thing. Like, either this kid's evil, like, he turns out to be evil, and he's got, like, Talia al Ghul training type, type of stuff, or he's like, his classes at the Y are really good and these thugs suck. Like, it's just that really took me out of it, because it's like, oh, this regular person is just beating up these people that Robin was worried that he couldn't beat up. And then, like, at the end, it turns out like Robin, as he's thinking, like that's why it's like not really clear if he's gay or bi, because he's talking about how he's like, oh, something just kind of clicked. And then he's like, I broke up with my girl. Like he was talking to the cop. He's like, I broke up with my girlfriend, and there was no real reason. I just didn't, it was like I didn't have this feeling or whatever. And then the guy like he's like, oh, we've all been there. You're just trying to learn about yourself and blah blah blah. It's like it seems a little bit different. Then at the end, I think his name's Bernard, asks him out on a date, and he's like, yeah, I'd like that. And like first off, Tim Drake, I know you're a fictional character, but you do not want to date a guy whose deduction skills are so bad that he can't tell that you are Robin. Like you're the guy that found out who Batman was. You gotta be dating someone at least as smart as you. Come on. But like it was just like this could have been written much better if they wanted to do this. This just kind of comes off as doing it just to do it. But it does say to be continued in Urban Legends number 10, which is like, wow, this series is gonna be going on this long. But it was all right. I don't know. Like, actually, it wasn't all right. It wasn't very good. But I didn't read the ones prior, and like I said, it could be more of the fact that she was writing him the way Bendis wrote him, because it's just like I said, he doesn't feel like Tim. Tim's always seemed so sure of himself too. Like if they were trying to do this type of story with Jason, it would actually make a lot more sense to me of not being sure of himself and then be like, oh, this just kind of clicks. It makes more sense. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense for him, but doesn't really with Tim. Whatever. What do I know? I'm not writing. And the last one's called Solo, and this has got Black Canary. It's a story about Black Canary, and it's got Josh Williamson with art by Trevor Harrison. And so she's basically tasked with trying to go undercover and like undercover as herself to be a bodyguard for this rich person that's setting up this new group. And then she's going to have to team up with Deathstroke. And then it just ends. It's like to be continued in Deathstroke Inc. So it's like, I don't know what the next Urban Legends is going to be, because it's like the Zealot one didn't say anything about being continued in anything. The Zdarsky one's done. Tim Drake's one won't come back until issue 10. Black Canaries is going to be in the other one. So it's like, what's this next issue going to be? But yeah, like this issue as a whole, the Zealots story was my favorite, hands down. It was a lot of fun. Then the Zdarsky one was, like I said, it was solid. It was good. But as a whole, I'm going to give this probably a 5 out of 10. The Drake and even the Canary one I wasn't super hot on. And yeah, if the Zealot one wasn't in here, it'd be probably a 3 though.
Okay, so I've been asked about this whole Tim stuff by a lot of customers this week. And like, I don't really care that they made him buy it. They just needed to do it better. As Casey said, I just read this part of the book just to be caught up on current events this week. I've said several times on the show that I really like Tim and Stephanie together. And I don't know. I just don't think that that's ever going to get explored again for quite some time. I think that they're just doing this to do this with no real good reason behind it. I don't even know if this will be used outside of this book, because continuity isn't really a thing. I mean,
they'll put him on the posters for the next Pride Month.
I know, but what's past that? Like they might mention it now and then, but I think this is pretty empty. I think it's a poor outing on DC's part.
I think at the very most, he might end up going on a date with Aqualad.
Yeah.
Which like that relationship makes sense. I just don't think like there's any way that he would ever date a normal person. Doesn't make any sense at all.
No. He and Stephanie would butt heads a lot, but it was good. It was a good relationship for them. You know what I mean? Like they challenged each other, kind of like what you were saying. This kid isn't going to challenge him. But totally agree. When I think of Tim Drake, I think of that awesome Red Robin series, and I think about how he's sitting there telling Bruce how he knows he's Batman. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
No,
this.
you're 100% right. That's what I was getting at with the kid just being like, "Huh, who's this freak? I don't know who this guy is, but I'll fight with him." And then it's just like, man, I've known Tim since I was a kid. I've had a crush on him for forever. I could recognize him anywhere. And it's like, could you? Come on.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Just seemed like a forced story. And we were comparing it to Tynan writing Alan Scott, right? And how that was done nicely.
Yeah.
This wasn't.
No. Yeah, it seems very much like the Bobby Drake type of thing. I actually saw a funny tweet where someone was like, "So is Tim gay or is he bi?" And then someone just said, we'll just have to have Jean Grey tell him."
That's funny. All right, moving on. We're almost halfway through our hour. Okay, Wonder Woman 777, written by Michael W. Conrad and Becky Cloonan. This was the weakest issue Wonder Woman from this creative team up to this point. The art was really, really good. I'll try to find one of my favorite panels for you to showcase that. But essentially, like here, I like how
That is really nice.
the faces are drawn and everything like that. Basically, when Wonder Woman left the land of the fairies last issue and came out on Earth, she's not on Earth 0. She's on Earth like 26 or something like that, where all the Justice League members are gender bent. So the whole league is female except for Wonder Man, not to be confused with Marvel's Wonder Man. And Wonder Man is a bad guy, and Janice, who is the evil Wonder Woman going around that they're chasing through all these realms, breaks him out of jail so that he'll help her kill these gods, aka the Justice League members on this planet. And gosh, this issue is filled with like eye rolly girl power phrases. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
And then Wonder Man making terrible jokes about overthrowing the matriarchy. And I mean, it's like this was a submission on marysue.com and then DC published it. It
Yeah.
was just it was really bad. The art was cool and the fight scenes were neat. Um, but anyway, girl power prevailed. Um, and then Casey and people that know me know that I'm all about girl power, but this was tacky. This was really tacky. Um,
One thing that I do think is funny, since they're trying to do like a switch thing, so they're basically going like, yeah, patriarchy.
right. Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. But anyway, Wonder Woman and Sigurd and Ratatosk, who are still with her at this time, go through another portal, and I don't know. Maybe this will wrap up and they'll actually fight Janice sometime soon. But either way, Wonder Woman is like in a classic costume, and then the Sigurd is in like a toga. So I don't really know what that means. And I also don't recognize where they're at. It just looks like some kind of weird limbo place. Um, so I don't know. We'll see what happens next. Hopefully the next one's better than this, because this was just like a huge letdown compared to the previous awesome issues. So this one, I want to grade it higher for the art, but I'm gonna have to give it a 4.
All right. Okay, so next up for me was the book I was most excited about. Then when I got even more excited when I saw Chichetto was back on it, is Daredevil number 33 by Chip Zdarsky and Chichetto. And so yeah, this is it kind of goes into how like, oh, why there's bullseye clones and stuff. And Then you have Elektra fighting all the Bullseye clones, and like Elektra is tough, but you know, like fighting two Bullseyes at once while there's a third one shooting at you. I mean, she's not bulletproof. That's not going to work. So she kind of gets her butt kicked, but she's smart enough because they had silencers on their guns. So she's like, oh, they don't want to be heard. So she takes she had a gun, like she took a gun from him, took the silencer off, started shooting up in the air until Spider-Man and Iron Man showed up. And so then they, you know, rescue her. Spider-Man was looking for her, and Iron Man was helping her heal. And then she's like, this is like one of the best lines too. She's like, make me a bullseye killing machine to Tony. And he kind of looks at her like, and she's like, figuratively, of course. And then like Daredevil took over the prison. And so the one cop dude that beat him up that one time walks in, and, you know, they're going to have a talk, and it's going to be pretty cool. And then this dude that's trying to become the new kingpin of crime in town, he's still making his moves. It's just, there's a lot going on. It's so dang cool. It's a 10 out of 10. I love it.
All right. Hardware season 1, number 1. I should have found the credits page by now, but I didn't, and for that I apologize.
I forgive you.
But do the readers, and by readers I meant listeners. All right, it's written by Brandon Thomas with pencils by Dennis Cowan and inks by Bill Sienkiewicz. And I want to mention the colors too, which is Chris Sotomayor. Okay, so we finally get Hardware's origin story, which was really cool. I love this issue. Just look how great this art is, by the way.
He kills it, man.
Yeah, and it's this throughout the whole book. It's so good. But basically the guy that's in charge of the company that Curtis works for, is it Curtis? My God, I'm so bad with names. I apologize. But anyway, this guy like sees the potential, and I'm just gonna keep calling him Curtis. Sees a lot of potential in Curtis when he's a kid, and decides that he's gonna like take him under his wing and get him like the best education and scholarships and all this stuff, so that basically he can come in and help his own company. And that's what happens. Curtis goes on to become this amazing man and like brilliant mind, and take Alva Industries where it is in current day. And then somebody sets up Curtis, and the big bang happens. And obviously the CEO of Alva Industries, which Edwin Alva, doesn't want to take the fall for it. So they make it is Curtis. I just read the speech bubble. They make Curtis the fall guy. And Curtis is basically like, well, you can try to take me in, and then gets in his suit and jetpacks out of the building and blows up the lab so it his work can't be stolen or anything like that. And he's like, I'll just build it again and make it even better next time. These guys aren't getting anything that I made for them. But he has all this cool stuff. He's got a jetpack. He's got a plasma whip, a plasma knife. He's got rockets that he's shooting out at these security helicopters that are coming after him. And there towards the end, he finds Edwin Alva in like his office or whatever it is, and is basically just like, don't F with me. And Alva's like, I made you who you are, just give up and maybe we can work something out. And Curtis metaphorically flips him the bird and breaks all the glass in his office and flies off. And Curtis says, we'll see who made who. And Edwin Alva says, I suppose we will, Curtis. And then it says, next time, Curtis on the run. So this was just a cool origin story mixed with a very neat action movie. We kind of get to see all of Hardware's all the stuff his suit can do and all the weapons he has. And I don't know, there's like a lot of metaphors in this issue about how maybe sometimes minorities take the fall for things that aren't their fault, but it's done tastefully and it makes you think about some things. So this was a really, really cool issue. I can't I can't think of anything wrong with it, but for some reason it's not a perfect 10. So I'm going to give it a 9. But definitely suggest if you have any interest in Hardware at all, definitely give this issue a shot.
Now, one quick question: will this series, like, is it this going to be a monthly series with Cowan's art, or is it going to be like bi-monthly? Because I know, like, when it was like the question book, I think it was like what, one every 3 months or something like that.
Right. Well, we've also been hearing about this milestone stuff for a long time, so maybe it's already
True.
done. Who knows?
Yeah.
But as far as I know, it's monthly.
Cool. That'll be cool. Okay, man. You want to just do Detective, Frontier, Joker, and Justice League?
It's exactly how I have it laying here, bud.
Okay, so I will start with Detective Comics 1041, and this is by Tamaki, and I'm gonna try to find the artist's name. I always forget his full name, but I love
Dan
it
Mora.
so much. Dan Mora, and yeah, what do you think of this?
So there's parts I really, really loved. And that part just being him going to his old cache and getting out the old gray and blue suit.
Yeah,
It was awesome. The story itself is fine. I kind of like this whole jury group of villains. At the same time, I'm kind of over Mr. Worth just like screaming at everything.
yeah, like I'm tired of him. I'm tired of the parasite thing. It's just like this art is outstanding, like so good, and we get this really great art with the old school costume. Wow. And
Hmm.
there's like the
And
way
it's
that,
a classic homage to Jim Lee right here.
yeah. And then like the way, like, the story itself, I don't like. The dialogue, the way Tamaki writes the characters outside of Worth are fantastic. It's like she gets the characters. It's just this story isn't good, you know?
Yeah. And also, I just want to point out this panel of Barbara as well. It's just
Mhm.
Dan Moore is so good.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm ready. I'm ready for this Parasite stuff to end and we get to the next arc because like
100%.
it's got to be better than this Parasite stuff.
It feels like this isn't ever gonna end.
I know, man. It's just like filler that's going on forever and
Yeah.
ever. But
And then,
like you said, I like the dialogue. Um, I like the Huntress costume a lot in that panel we get of her,
yeah.
and I like her being there to help. But
Yeah.
man, it's just like this is called the jury part 1, Casey.
I know.
It's like what do you mean part 1? We've been doing this for issues.
I know. And then we have the backup story and by Matthew Rosenberg and Derek Robertson. This is Deb Donovan. And what the boop is Task Force Z? And I mean, I'll be honest, I could not care to read this one. It didn't help that I was like half falling asleep while I was trying to read this, which is like a shame because in the Tamaki books, Deb Donovan's actually a lot of fun to read. Like 100%. When she's in it, she's funny. But
Dude,
yeah,
this it was actually pretty good,
yeah. I mean,
honestly.
running on 3 hours of sleep, it wasn't the best for me. So, like, yeah. I mean, I'm probably gonna reread it because I'm interested and I like Rosenberg a lot. So,
Yeah. Deb Deb is just like Lady Harvey Bullock in my opinion,
I
except
can
she's a
see it.
reporter.
Yeah,
Um so she meets up with Vicky Vale at a bar and Deb like orders them each a couple shots, but then just takes all the shots herself, which I thought was pretty funny. But anyway, somebody gave her a lead on this big story and she doesn't know who it is. And then someone comes up behind her in an alley with a gun and is like, stop looking into the story. And he's like, actually, I'm just going to go ahead and kill you. And then Batman comes in and saves the day. And he's like, okay, he almost killed you, but for real, listen to him. Like, stop digging into the story. And then she goes home and we find out who gave her the lead, and it's Red Hood. And then it's like a to be continued. But what's funny is she's like, I've been covering crime in this town for so long. She's like, this time the story definitely found me, and it's eating my effing cereal. And it's
Yeah.
just Red Hood sitting at her kitchen table eating her cereal. And that made me laugh. But I thought it was cool. Like the story in this backup was way better than the story in the main series.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm gonna reread it, but I was like half asleep when I was reading it. Yeah, for me, this I'm gonna probably give it I'm gonna go 5 out of 10. I'm just not feeling this Detective Comics story.
And I'm going to go with 7 because the art was so good in the first half and the story was so good in the second half.
Yeah.
All right, Infinite Frontier number 4, and this was written by Mr. Joshua Williamson, and the art was done by somebody. Paul Pelletier, Jesus Marino, and Zermanico all worked on the art here. So, Casey, what do you think about this one?
I loved it. Like it hit a lot of things, and one thing, since you didn't read Tom Taylor's acclaimed Batman run where he just kind of did terrible by Thomas Wayne, this like
Tom
100%,
Taylor?
or Tom King, sorry, again, very little.
Okay, I was like, what? Who?
The where he did terrible by Thomas Wayne, this kind of like redeems Thomas Wayne, and it's really good, and it makes me happy because it never made any sense to me why Thomas Wayne was such a jerk in Tom King's run. What do you think though?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty neat. This extract character is interesting. Um, you already know I love seeing the JSA, and Roy is back, and it explains how he's going back and forth between zombie and not zombie, and I want to see more of that. They do kind of touch on Captain Atom a little bit, which I know we've been asking for
Briefly, I love the
briefly.
part with when like the skull dude was like about to leave the ship and the girl just shot him in the leg. That part was
Yeah,
awesome.
but you can tell, like with anything that Williamson writes, that he loves the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he likes the JSA characters because they were written very well and very in character, in my opinion. And I want to see more of that. Basically, I want a Williamson JSA book, Casey. That's what I'm saying.
Well, like we talked about, it seems like he's gonna be doing every book at DC here in a bit, so
Right.
it might happen.
That's true. But yeah, I have no idea who this Machine Head guy is. I know that Grant Morrison created him. I don't know anything about him. Don't know that I've ever read anything with him in it prior to this.
Like that's the main problem with them using these characters, because it's like Multiversity was so long ago, and it's like I don't even remember Machine Head being in there at all. So it's
Me
like I
either,
don't
and I
know.
read it. you know?
Same. Like so, because like that Green Lantern that I don't remember, I don't see him in here, and he was, I know for a fact, because like in Grant's Multiversity he had a Green Lantern that was an alien, and I don't see him in this team, so I don't know. Maybe
So
this is one that Williamson made up.
that's true. What did you think about the Injustice Society that they showed on the last page? And can you name all of them?
Well, I'll look really quick. I didn't like that Magog was there, because I was like, I was wanting him to just be a goodie again.
Yeah.
So there's Magog. That dude looks like Fate. Is that it? Is that who that? Okay. Then we got Joker with the ring, Superwoman, Savan, Dr. Savan. Is that like the Shazam guy?
Sylvana, I think.
Sylvana. Okay. And that dude in the back is like one of the alternate reality Superman's Doomsdays, isn't it?
I think so.
And then I don't know who the lady is though behind
Dang
Superman.
it. I was hoping you did because I didn't know who it was either.
She looks like someone that would have been like big in the 90s.
Yeah. Okay, what would you give it out of 10?
A 9. I really liked it. There's, I mean, little things where it's the same thing I always have with this thing where it's like it needs to be more for like the 50 stories they're trying to tell.
Yeah.
That's like the only, and like that's such a good yeah, you know, like a good bad thing to say about a book where it's like just give us more. So
Yeah. Um, I'm probably at an 8. I did really like it, but I just don't really know who everyone is sometimes, and
yeah,
there's just a lot going on. So, but it's still really, really good.
I got you, man.
All right,
So
Casey, before these last two, we have 14 minutes. So we're
okay,
we're getting
better.
close here.
Okay, so next up is the Joker, and this is by James Tynan with March. And what's his first name? Terrible names.
Guillaume, I think is how you
William
pronounce
March.
it.
And you know, I'll be honest, I wasn't super hot on this. What did you think?
Um, See, I actually kind of dug it. The
Yeah,
weird cannibal stuff was interesting because I'm
Texas
like,
Chainsaw Massacre.
right, it is, but it's like, oh, okay, this is the old guy that whose brothers
Yeah,
and it's like we finally get some background. But
yeah.
I really like Jim's internal dialogue and like how he doesn't want to get this fancy hotel dirty and stuff like that is neat. And then
And
he
I like that he's got Bullock on payroll now.
exactly what I was gonna say next. Uh just the interactions between Jim and Harvey and Jim and Barbara are cool. And I just like that everyone's doing some detective work. I think it's cool. Um,
And
and also, it was really sad him telling the story about going to Paris for his honeymoon and then it never happening. It was kind of
yeah,
heartbreaking.
yeah,
Like, Jim is a sad man,
he
and I just want to
is.
give him a hug.
Okay, and then we had the Punchline backup story, which I know you read and you probably loved it. And it's by Sam Johns and James Tynan with art and colors by Sweeney Boo. Did you read it actually?
I actually forced myself to read it this week for the first
Nice.
time. I
I'll
didn't
be
like
honest.
it.
I hate it. I hate this art. This art I think is just bad.
Yeah.
And then the story itself I thought was pretty lame. It's another one of those punchline stories where it's like, I plan for everything. I know exactly who you are. I'm better than everybody type of story because that's that who that character is. And I don't like that type of character.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it an 8 though. I liked it more than you did, and all the stuff with Jim was really good in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it a 6. It felt like a filler issue in my opinion. So and like I said, that every time this punchline story brings it down.
Which is totally fair. Okay, and then finally, we've got Justice League: The Last Ride, number 4. This is written by Chip Zdarsky, and the art was done by, once I find the credits page, Miguel Mendonca. And I was a pretty big fan of this one, man. What about you?
No, same here. And I'm gonna give a compliment to Zdarsky's writing that it I think you might agree. The way he wrote Martian Manhunter, it was so good that it had me in my head being I think it's Philip Lamar who's his voice and
Yeah.
yeah, that voice was the voice that was in my head as I was reading his lines,
Yeah.
which is like that's the best compliment you can give for a character in comic books. You know, if they have the animated voices in their head in your head when you read it.
Yeah. This showed why everybody was well, not everybody. Some people, mainly Superman, were salty towards Bruce during this whole thing. And it really wasn't Bruce's fault. Like it was
No,
Bruce's idea, but Martian Manhunter was like, I'm really the only one that's here that can do this. So
Yeah.
he went and did it, and unfortunately, spoiler alert, he dies doing it. But he did it for the League and to save Earth. Um, his interaction with Batman, like shaking his hand, and Manhunter being like, "This isn't your fault." Like, trust me, I know that I wish there was a better way too, but there isn't. And I also like seeing Superman trying to get there in time. Like
Yeah.
that's Superman's biggest weakness, really. It's not
Hmm.
kryptonite. It's him trying to get somewhere to save someone and not being able to do it in time.
Yeah.
He wants to be everywhere at once to save everybody, and he can't do that. And anybody that thinks Superman is one dimensional and boring is an idiot and needs to read stuff like this that shows why he's great.
Yeah. Like my only real problem though is like it's like, yeah, I get why Superman can be mad at this, but it's 100% like they are all doing their job. Like Batman, he might not have been like 100% unless Batman's like a real jerk in the next issue where he was like, yeah, that dumb Martian got what he deserved. Then Superman had every right to be mad, but I don't think he's going to be like that. He seemed very upset. So, I think Superman's like kind of lashing out where he didn't deserve to.
And here's the thing, too. It's like we know that a somewhat good amount of time has passed between that happening and now. I just personally don't, not my Superman doesn't stay mad that long. Like
Yeah.
he's acting like this just happened yesterday and he's still that mad about it. It's like I just don't think like Superman would have time to like kind of get over it a bit and come to an understanding, and it hasn't happened, and that's my
Yeah.
biggest beef with this.
Yeah, but then we also get some really like I'm gonna say top tier villains show up in this too, which it's pretty exciting. So it's gonna get good. Like the probably the last two issues were kind of slower, and this one's like the build up type issue.
Yeah, we're gonna get Wonder Woman and her gold eagle Amazon armor fighting Mongol with the giant axe. And that's
Yeah.
gonna be awesome. Um, and then what did you think of like, I mean, this isn't just Cyborg Superman, this is like Brainiac Cyborg Superman, right?
Well, I was looking. I didn't know if it was that or my first thought was like Indigo Lantern too, because he's also kind of got the purple. But I think you were right because he's got all the Manhunters with him though. So like I don't know if Brainiac's with them or what,
It just
but
looks like his skin is green like Brainiac.
okay, maybe I didn't notice that. I was noticing. I was just looking at the purple.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I think that's good that it leaves us guessing like which kind of crazy amped up villain is this. Either
Yeah,
way, it's going to be cool. But I think this was my favorite issue of the series.
same.
I was kind of like, this is neat. I'm ready for more. This finally gave us some more. So now I'm like all in on this book. Um, I'm going to give it a 9 because it would be perfect, but my beefs about Superman like holding a grudge is the only thing leaving this from getting a 10.
Yeah, for me it's an 8.5. I really liked it, but and I'm leaving the 8.5 because like it's gonna get better. It's gonna be tens here in a bit. I have a
Yeah.
really solid feeling, so it's like I'm gonna give it some room to get bigger next.
Yeah. All right. We stayed under the hour. Our man prevails once again. But now, Casey, which books are you excited for next week?
Okay, so the books that I am most excited for, I'm gonna say Superman and the Authority, Godzilla because Godzilla, and then Flash because I have to keep that going for about every time it's new. Can't do
Sure.
something that way.
For me personally, I'm gonna go with Moon Knight number 2. I'm gonna go with Shazam number 2. Um, I don't know. The third one's tough. There isn't like a whole bunch out for me next week, but I'll say maybe Nightwing. Like it's on the verge of me hating it, but it's not quite there. So I'm like still in. So we'll go with that.
Now, speaking of Moon Knight, really quick, did you see the possibly leaked picture for Moon Knight? You like the costume or?
Um, I do like it. It's just like with anything we get glimpses of, it's not the finished thing that we're going to see. Like we haven't seen any of the digital touches. Like that's not a final costume.
I know, but that's it. Kind of gives, like, in my opinion, personally, it gives like big time excitement because I thought it looked awesome, and normally I think they look kind of bad when you first see their, see the other. So it's like if it's just gonna get better from that, that's
Well,
gonna be insane.
yeah, no, like that I'm with you there. I liked it. Some people were saying, "Oh, it just kind of looks like Ragman." And it's like, yeah, but guys, it's not finished yet. And also, Moon Knight wants to be scary. He wants to scare people. I think this is pretty scary if you're a villain in a dark alley. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Or like in a very well lit alley too, because you won't be able to see him at all until he's right on him.
Yep. Plus, I
All right.
saw something that was that costume, but like someone did some concept art for it being finished and it looked amazing.
Yeah.
So,
No, dude, I think it's gonna look great. And it's also, you have to think about it. Odds are this costume's gonna be made in the desert. So with it looking like Ragman or whatever, that, I mean, like, you have to think about it in the concept of the TV show. It's that it works.
yeah,
But all right, dude. So it's time for the Fantastic Four, I'd say.
let's do it.
All right, dude. You sent me a comic book cover that had Hercules on it, and I just kind of had realization that's like, I don't think Hercules has ever really been on a bad cover. Like, if you see Hercules on a cover or something, odds are it's gonna be a lot of fun. Google some of the old Hercules comic book covers. The comics themselves might be bad. The covers are cool. So give me four characters that always look cool on their covers. Like, you can't be like, oh man, this guy, he's on the cover, it's gonna look stupid.
I mean, they're kind of basic answers, but like Wolverine almost always looks cool.
Oh
Uh, Batman, because most of the time they're getting top tier artists to do Batman covers. Thor, because there's always like lightning and he's standing there swinging the hammer. And then this one's just sort of a personal one for me, but Mr. Miracle, because he's always in some sort of like death trap or like
yeah.
escaping something. And it always makes me like, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen in this issue. So those are my four. What about you, man?
I'm gonna say Luke Cage. I don't think I've ever seen a lame Luke Cage cover. I mean, maybe probably some of the ones from the '70s, but I didn't. I've not seen those ones.
Sweet
Um,
Christmas.
and then Hercules, as I said in the example, he just looks always cool. I'm gonna say Grifter, like the simplistic costume of Grifter. I mean, if you just give a character guns and a trench coat, they're gonna look cool no matter what.
And his mask is the coolest.
It really is. It's like, it's one of those things where, like, Jim Lee's designs sometimes suck. I'll say that, but that one nailed it.
Dude, even Rob Liefeld, who did the Grifter New 52 book, made Grifter look cool.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just like, that character just screams coolness. So he's been in Fantastic Fours twice, 2 weeks in a row for me. But and then I'll say the last one, Godzilla. You get Godzilla on the cover, it's gonna be a banger.
Totally fair. Okay, well, I think that's the end of the episode.
Really quick, I do want to. I had a question. So this seemed like a 5 hour long podcast, but don't worry about it. But this is a thing that I was thinking about because I saw an old Thor cover where like Loki's standing over him. He's like, "Ha, my Skeletor voice, like, ha, without your hammer, you're gonna turn back to Donald Blake, and then I'm gonna kill you," or something, something like that, basically. And Thor's freaking out because he can't reach his hammer. But even old Thor could still throw his hammer and have it come back to him. Why is it that in those comics where he could transform back to the Donald Blake or Masterson, it was still like he had that worry that, oh, well, if my hammer falls, I can't just get it to come back to me, because it always happened.
Yeah, I think, dude, I don't know, like the 60s where all that started was a weird time because like every cover they would throw out some weakness that was like way out of the realm of possibility. It's like, they do something with Superman where somebody had like springs for legs, and they're like, I can jump higher than the tallest building, Superman. What are you gonna do about that? And Superman's
Yeah.
like, oh no. It's like, it doesn't matter. And I
Yeah.
think that's the same thing here, where in the
Oh,
issue it'll start out like that, but then like right before the ending he'll call the hammer and smack Loki over the head with it.
okay, but I mean, like, in an actual instance where I remember this happening, this would have been the Masterson Thor when Thor actually wasn't connected to him though, but it was an Infinity Gauntlet, and he loses the hammer, and he's in outer space, and he's like, it's not coming back to him. He's trying to make his way back to get it, and you know what I mean, like, and then I think he ends up transforming back into Masterson, and then just getting killed because everyone was dying.
Oh, well, I don't know. I guess that just comes down to the writer at that
Okay.
point, you know. I i don't think that should ever be a problem there. He just does so much with controlling the hammer over the years that it's like anything where he loses it is just silly because we've seen him do it all, you
Yeah,
know.
like the only way logically I could see it making kind of sense is like, because I remember in this would have been like DC versus Marvel, Thanos and Darkseid were just like beating up a bunch of different Marvel characters, and like Thor got his hammer knocked away like while he was fighting them, like energy wise, and then him and Wonder Woman both got knocked out at the same time. He kind of just like reaches over to pick it up, but he's too far away from it because it got blasted away from him, instead of, and so then Wonder Woman picked up and handed it back to him. And so it's like, maybe if it gets blasted in midair, then it's like, oh, good luck finding me type of thing.
Yeah, that could be. I also think it's silly that she could pick it up, but I guess anything's going to happen in a crossover like that.
I mean, that never really bothered me because it's two things. Because like superheroes, when they're teaming up with them, they can pick it up because they're fighting alongside them. And then also, if there's someone that would actually be able to, wage war for, um, Odin, all that nonsense that makes them worthy, Wonder Woman, she's right up there.
Yeah, for sure. When you put it like that, when it's like, okay, pick a DC character that would be worthy of it, I guess that's fair. It's just at this point, the being worthy thing has kind of lost all meaning.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was a fun question. But now we can do the closing plugs. So if you would, go to facebook.com/Two Worlds Podcast and give the page a little likesy doodle. You can also find us on Twitter at two_worlds_PC and on Instagram at Two Worlds Pod. And then you can also email us at twoworldspodcast@gmail.com. And please, wherever you're listening to this, review us and give us a 5-star review. It would help us out greatly. And don't forget to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Comment on the video, share your thoughts on questions that we ask, all that good stuff.
And I'm gonna toss down the gauntlet because I was thinking to myself, our numbers have been kind of staying the same as far as listeners. So I'm gonna toss down the gauntlet. If by, let's just say, the new year, you guys get all your friends to listen, and our listeners are up 50. Let's say we're at 50 listeners, new listeners via Anchor app. It says that I will grow out a mullet and be mullet Superman at the next cosplay event that, after that happens, I'll have a mullet and I'll be mullet Superman for that event.
And that is genuinely something that I want to see.
Yeah, so get that going, guys, because I'll do it. I don't care.
Will the girlfriend care?
Probably, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I haven't broke the news to her yet. But we would love to stay in chat, but Jake's got me on some crazy adventure, and then I'm gonna enter a room and say, "Hey, Charlie," in unison because there's 3 of me. Okay, bye, guys.
Bye.